What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our new show, Down South, Up North. Kyle Abercrombie, Matt Seaman, back recording. Guys, it's been a minute since you've seen two of us on the screen. Now it's virtual. We're not at the same place. We're just going to run you guys up to speed real quick. Me and Matt graduated college a few months ago, and both of us went our different ways. I stayed down south, and Matt went up north to create this beautiful show. Matt, just give the viewers a little bit what you've been up to so far.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a wild ride, a little bit of a pause, so we do apologize for that, the recordings and everything, but this is kind of what we're going to be doing. Kyle came up with a name, kind of stuck. I'm up here in Jersey, he's down in Georgia, so, it kind of just goes, hand in hand. So, going to be discussing sports teams kind of in those general areas. Sometimes we might flip out of the States or whatever, but I'm looking forward to it, so I'm glad we're here.
Yes, sir. I'm really excited for this. So, guys, the first new segment of the show, Athletic Alert. Guys, we have a huge matchup in women's basketball tonight. Number 1 Iowa versus number 3 LSU. It is a rematch of the national championship. Caitlin Clark, that's all I got to say. Having a great season like usual. She beat Pete Maravich's scoring record. She's averaging near 32 points per game. Angel Rhys having a great season as well. Matt, take a dive deeper into what this matchup's going to entail.
Yeah, it sucks that they're in the Elite Eight, doesn't it? Kind of in the same conference. We can't really get another matchup. Although last year it was kind of a blowout, honestly. Like Iowa, they lost 102-75. LSU played great defense, trying to force Iowa to shoot those outside perimeter shots. And of course, basketball is a 5v5 sport. And you kind of have to take those shots outside and be able to make them. And if it's just Caitlin Clark, as great as she is, it can't really happen. But this year's a little bit different. Iowa leads the country in points per game. They're like 92 points in a game for basketball. That's really good. But again, LSU, they're kind of built upon that defensive culture. So I think I don't see why they don't take the same approach this year, right? If you can lock down Clark, even if she scores 25 plus, right? If you can lock down everybody else inside and force them to take those outside shots, I don't think Iowa's going to be able to keep up with LSU. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Iowa just because they are the number 1 seed for a reason. And Caitlin Clark, man, like what better storyline than getting revenge from last year is there?
You could tell Caitlin Clark is on a mission to get revenge. And we're forgetting one big piece. LSU added probably the 3rd best, maybe 4th best player in women's basketball, Haley Van Lith. She's great. She played amazing at Louisville last season, and then she comes over to LSU.
That's right. Yeah.
Already a juggernaut to make them even better. Iowa is actually favored by 1.5 points, which is crazy because LSU just got better in the offseason.
Iowa's ranked number 1 though, so they are the number 1 seed for a reason. But you saw what West Virginia did. I think they kind of caught up to her, but then they skated to the victory after that. So
let's just talk about how Iowa and LSU got to this point. Iowa, they massacred the Colorado. They won 89-68 to punch their way to the Elite Eight. LSU, on the other hand, they kind of struggled. They had a late rally against UCLA, winning 78-69. So if I'm LSU, I just played a close game against UCLA. That's nowhere close to Iowa. I was the 1 seed, so you got to pick it up. Angel Rhys, she's playing great. She's averaging 19 points and 13 rebounds in the tournament, I think.
Yeah, and she's this is her last game was her 15th consecutive double-double. So that's insane. Yeah, I think it speaks volume. But again, this LSU team, it's not really about blowing people out like Iowa has. It's about like they hear all the noise, and a lot of people, especially on social media, attack this women's basketball team because they do stir up a lot of attention. But if there's any role they can play, it is the villain. And I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it close with Iowa and potentially book their ticket back to the Final Four.
I haven't been keeping up too much with the women's tournament, but I do see Angel Reese getting in foul trouble, getting fouled out, talking to the crowd. So you're right, they are playing in that villain role. But Iowa and Caitlin Clark, man, like Caitlin Clark, she's not the only shooter on that team. I mean, they're the one seed. Forgot her name. I mean, I have to go on Google and look, but she's a great shooter as well. Caitlin Clark, she's a playmaker. She's a shooter. She's great defensively. That is going to be a great game. Everybody, make sure you watch it tonight. If you're not doing anything, it's easily the best game of the tournament so far.
Easily. All right, now let's shift over to the men's side of the bracket, but we're not going to go the NCAA. We're going to go to the NIT, and as you can see kind of from like our logo up and down, it's Seton Hall versus Georgia. What a perfect way to debut our first episode. Yeah. But they're in the NIT, right, Kyle? So this tournament, like, it's overlooked. I always joke it's the you're not good enough tournament to make it, obviously, and that's no attack to any team. But Seton Hall is looking for their first NIT championship since 1953. That's 71 years. Which again, like, who really cares? But I think it's good for the program. I think it's good for the school. They are a number 1 seed. But personally, let's go back. Like, they should have been in March Madness. They should have been on my bracket when I'm filling it out. I should have seen Seton Hall. I wouldn't have given them anything better than a 10 seed. But if you just look at some of the teams who made it, look at Virginia, right? Up and down season all year. They go into the AC's tournament, and they lose to NC State in their first game. Now, look, there's no disrespect to NC State. We all know what they're doing in March Madness. But losing to them and then going into bracket play, because I believe they had a play-in game to get into the round of 64, and they go in and they completely shit the bed. I mean, I think they scored 14 points, and it took, in real time, like an hour for them to score their next point.
I did see that.
And look, I'm picking on one team that I don't think should have made it. I'm sure there's other teams within the 68 or 64 teams that made it that Seton Hall deserves over. But when you just see something so blatantly obvious, where Seton Hall is playing in the Big East, which I think is a top 3 conference in the United States, it's just blasphemy to me. But nonetheless, good for them. They're going for this championship. That's just how I feel about them.
Seton Hall, I mean, I have the notes pulled up right here. They have regular season wins over UConn, Marquette, Georgetown, Providence. Those are basketball schools.
And that's and that's all teams within the Big East. UConn, they're skating by everybody. They're a 1 seed, and Marquette's a number 2 seed who went down in the Sweet 16.
They're good. They went 23-12 overall, 13-7 in conference play. That whole conference, it was just neck and neck. I mean, like I said, Seton Hall finished 5th, 5 games back from first place.
Right.
But it was very close between UConn, Marquette, Georgetown, all these schools. It was really close. I don't know why the committee decides to not throw them in there. Like a 10 seed, I think that's a perfect spot for Seton Hall.
Now, look, I will say, I think the reason the committee wasn't convinced is because they lost to St. John's in the Big East tournament, which was like kind of unexpected. It was an early knockout for them. But still, dude, like, in another thing, like, why did the Big East only have 3 teams make it to the tournament? 3 teams.
I have no idea. That's kind of crazy. Like you said, Big East, looking at the whole conference, that's stacked.
Right.
The multiple March Madness winners in there, powerhouse programs, and that's just so crazy to me. I can't really think about.
And now, you know, I'll let you get to your Georgia spiel here, but the SEC had 10 teams make March Madness, and over half of them got eliminated in the first round. And then we're looking at Seton Hall, like, why weren't they granted that chance?
Dude, it don't matter what sport. It could be the football playoff committee. It could be the March Madness committee. I guess all the committees love the SEC. Don't get me wrong, SEC, I love it. I think it's the best conference overall. But having 10 teams in March Madness from the SEC, like, no doubt you got to throw Kentucky in there. You got to throw Alabama in there.
Alabama's in the Final Four, so they are representing the conference well. But
they are.
It still doesn't make an excuse for putting Florida in there, who
I don't get that.
Played terrible. Texas A&M knocked out first round. I mean, look, I mean they all made runs, but I also think, because if you look at the SEC, none of the top 3 teams in the conference made it to the championship for the SEC tournament. I believe it was Mississippi State who made it all the way, and
Auburn.
Right, in Auburn. Like, what a letdown. Right?
Yeah, no, they're always a really good team in basketball. Them and Bama are kind of battling for that powerhouse of the SEC when it comes to basketball. Where'd Auburn go? I had them going deep in my bracket, and they got bounced early.
Right. Yeah, no, I know a lot of people who had them going all the way and winning the entire thing. And again, I mean, hopefully this can be a small sample size for the committee to look back on next year when they're making these picks and say, all right, let's give other teams a chance, because I just think too many teams from the SEC made it.
Now, flipping the script, Seton Hall, they had a great resume and they deserved to be in. Georgia, on the other hand, they had a great start to the season, and the last probably 4 or 5 game stretch where they really had to lock in and turn it up a notch to punch their ticket, they did not do it. They finished 20-16 overall, 6-12 in conference play. That's pitiful. And I'm a Georgia fan. I like watching Georgia sports, Georgia football, baseball. It doesn't matter. I'm all Georgia. They collapsed against Bama, Florida, LSU, and Kentucky. I remember I was watching that Bama game. Late in the third quarter, they're up 15 to 20 points. And Bama just comes back and whoops them by 10. I'm like, dude, like, you can't let that happen. The last 4 game stretch had to win probably 3 out of 4 to lock in here, to punch their way into March Madness and do well in the SEC tournament. Did not do that. Lost 3 out of 4, and I think they got pounced literally first round in the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
NIT, I guess they just don't care because they're playing good basketball. They're like, hey, we're in here. They defeated Ohio State, defeated Wake Forest, and Xavier.
Yeah, the 1 and 2 seed.
The 1 and 2 seed. I think Georgia's what, the 3? They're the 3 or the 4?
They're 4. They're a 4 seed.
They're the 4?
Yeah, and we'll throw up the bracket here.
It's confusing to me how, I mean, I get it. Mike White, I think that's his name. This is his 2nd year as Georgia's head basketball coach. I get it. It's going to take a minute to build the program up and then get in a flow and establish a brand new culture and everything. I get that. But, dude, that's just unacceptable, man. 20-16 overall. They do have some good recruits coming in, recruits in the top 100. So I'm excited for that. It's just disappointing for Georgia fans.
But, again, both of them, Seton Hall and Georgia, good luck to them. They are going head-to-head, and the winner advances to the championship. So, at least they have a chance to celebrate something this season. But let's move into some baseball news, because the MLB this past weekend, opening day, lots of expectations for a lot of teams. But let's talk about an expectation that nobody had for a brawl to happen on the first day. This past Friday, New York Mets opening against the Milwaukee Brewers, and the benches already cleared in the 8th inning when it was 3-1, and Rhys Hopkins slid into second base. Jeff McNeil obviously playing there, and there was a little bit of a scuffle. Let's listen to what Jeff McNeil said about the play, followed by what Rhys Hopkins had to say.
Just a late slide. We've had a little bit of a pass, so I knew there was a chance that he'd be coming in like that. and I just didn't like his slide. I wasn't trying to turn a double play at all. I was just trying to catch the ball. There was no need to break it up. He's had some pretty questionable slides at second base for sure. Definitely remember looking at some in the past that were definitely not okay. So I knew there was a possibility that might happen, and it did.
McNeil took, excuse to my slide, but I didn't really think much of it, to be honest. I ended up hitting him, but that's what happens with the slow development play, and we're trying to make sure he doesn't turn a double play.
Okay, Kyle, you are a big Braves fan. You know the Mets. You know that Rhys Hoskins used to play for the Phillies. What is your reaction to these two guys getting the season started on a hot note on day one?
Jeff McNeil is a big baby. I hate to say it, but it would be different if Hoskins either slid left or right of the base to physically take out Jeff, to physically break up the play. He's not even going for the base. If that was the case, then I'm like, hey, Jeff McNeil has every right to be upset, to start something with Hoskins. But that's not the case. Look at some of Jeff McNeil's past slides into second base. Here's the base. Jeff is sliding down here. He's 5 feet away from the base trying to take out. I mean, it's happened a few times with Ozzy and some national players as well, Marlins players, Jazz, just really like Jazz Chisholm. All the players in the NL East have dealt with Jeff McNeil sliding away from the base trying to take out the runner. I don't know if Jeff has actually done that, but I have seen a couple of clips him doing it. But it's just, dude, you're a big baby. It's baseball. Like, look at clips from, I mean, it's older, but 80s and 90s and even in the 2000s. Players aren't even sliding, dude. They're running and they're getting in the position like they're about to truck somebody and just throw their shoulder right into their hips to just get them off balance, get them flipping through the air, falling on the ground to break up the double play ball. Jeff McNeil, you are a big crybaby, dude, and you did it to probably one of the worst people, Hoskins. He was a Philly. He had that FU mentality. He did not care.
And even after the play, he was chirping on the sideline.
Yeah, even after the play, he was going like this. He was pretending like he was crying like a baby to Jeff, and then the next day, what does Hoskins do? Hits a bomb to left field.
Yeah, and speaking of which, also on Saturday, which was the second game of the three-game series, the Mets pitcher Yohan Ramirez got ejected for throwing a pitch like right near his head, and obviously it's baseball. Like, you kind of have to expect those kind of things, but it's just embarrassing for a team with expectations of, like, as a Mets fan, I didn't know what to expect going into this year. I knew it wasn't going to be great, like, whatsoever. Look, you just paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. Last year, very quiet in the offseason. Again, MLB in general was pretty quiet this offseason. Outside of the Shohei Ohtani news, but still, this is just too early, and to start the season off 0-3, it's just embarrassing. And then, like you said, Rhys Hoskins just takes that. He gets 3 hits, hits a home run against them, and he's moving on to the next series just laughing like, wow, I still own this team. So
it's baseball. Like, playing baseball, you have to have short-term memory. You have to just kind of something like that. You have to throw it behind you. But Rhys Hoskins, he will not forget that probably for a very long time. The Mets not off to a good start, but the Braves were 2-1, baby. Let's go.
It is what it is. All right, Kyle, I'll let you introduce our next newer segment to the show.
Playing baseball, you always got to show love to the guys in the Division III, the NAIA, the JUCO, and that's exactly what we're doing today with our prospect rankings. I'm going to start it off here. I'm going to pick sophomore Brick Conway from Oglethorpe University in Atlanta, Georgia. He's been a stud this season, batting .363 and a .414 on-base percentage. The bad thing is he's been in an absolute slump the last 2 series. First, it was against Center College. He went, I think he got maybe 2 base hits in a 3-game series. And then Millsaps, same thing. Did not get a base hit. He's went 4 for 27 the last week, which is bad. But that's baseball, dude. If you succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame, brother.
Yeah.
And congratulations. Baseball is a very, very hard sport. You have to be very mentally tough. And to even be playing at the college level is hard enough. So I'm sure he's going to pick it up here at the end. The season's kind of slowing down here. But, hey, next time we do prospect rankings, Britt could be up there going having 20 hits in a series. So Britt Conway is my player of the day.
Thank you, Kyle. And again, this is going to change on a week-to-week basis. We're going to do this every single Monday, changing players around. So it could honestly go whichever way. So my prospect of the week is going to be junior infielder Aaron Santos from Fairleigh Dickinson University. Now, look, this is still an early season. It just started in February. So not a lot of film and stuff we can really base everything off of. But out of the 13 games he's played, he's only gone hitless once. He's got a 51% on-base percentage. I think that's pretty good. He's going up to the plate. He's getting it done, going where it needs to go. And he's got a .417 batting average. I mean, that is... Kyle, can you speak to that, how great that is? Explain to everybody, like, that's not really heard of in college?
Yeah. He's putting some piss stains on the baseball, to say the least. People don't understand how hard baseball is. People like, I could hit 90, 95. I could go in there. No, you can't. Trust me, you can't. You get in the box, you blink, that ball is past you. To have that good hand-eye coordination and put the ball in play, not only put the ball in play, get a base hit, bat .400 at the college level. I mean, dude, with those numbers, if he keeps it up, which is that's super hard to do, to keep up those numbers for a whole season. But if he does that, he could get drafted 3rd, 4th round to the draft if he keeps up those numbers. That is incredible. Good for him.
Yeah, and infielder, couple errors in February, but the reason he's on my list is because he's been perfect from the field in March, heading into April now. So he's cleaned up his fielding play. And out of, like I said, out of 23 games, to have that batting average so far, I think is pretty good.
That's great. And for both of these guys, if they keep it up and they keep producing for their team and putting runs on the board, collecting hits, doing the little things in baseball, like having runners in scoring position and putting the ball in play and scoring them and having good attitude, being a good team player, you could see these guys go to a D1 team and then go from here to here.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're trying to highlight these guys, because they don't get a lot of media coverage and recognition. So trying to get their names out there and kind of highlight what they're doing, I think is good for the program.
Everybody, that's going to do it for the first episode of Down South Up North. I think this episode went great. We have a bunch of cool segments, and it's just going to get better and better. Prospect rankings, athletic alert, brain battles. We have so much more coming soon. But if you guys have any suggestions about segments, sports topics, anything like that, please comment down below. Matt's setup is pretty good, but mine, on the other hand, is kind of hood. It's not very good.
It's in the works.
Yeah, it's in the works. So please let me know if you guys have any tips or anything like that. We're going to try to create a schedule that we're in the process of that right now. What days work for me and Matt both to film and then edit afterwards and have it out to you guys at a reasonable time. But make sure to follow Down South up north on all platforms, YouTube, everything. Guys, thank you for watching the first episode. We appreciate you. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.